What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Horror. This is Ethan Horror, and today we are going to be trying something new and doing a tier list. Never done one of these before. I'm going to see how it works. I mean, I've made tier lists before, but I've never made a video on it, and we are going to be going through the last 4 years in horror, 2020 to 2023, going through every movie that I've watched. Not every movie that I've watched. Every movie that I've watched that has been released in those years. If it was every movie I've watched between those years, there would be millions. Probably not, but like every horror movie I've watched between those years. I think we have like 38 that have been released, and I have seen. There are some big ones missing, so if you don't see it, that's why I haven't seen it. So Insidious, Red Door, haven't seen it. What's another one? Evil Dead Rise, haven't seen. So, there's a lot on here, but some of the big ones I haven't seen yet. So, if you see it behind me, though, I've most likely seen it. So, let's just get right into this. I hit the intro.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh my God!
Alright, so we are here at the tier list. I don't have them organized. I should probably have them organized by year. Actually, I'll be right back. 1 sec. Alright, so now they're organized by year. So let's go through the tiers. At the top, we have fantastic, good, watchable, bad, dreadful. Pretty basic. We just got 5 tiers. Let's go through all of these movies. So, starting off, we have 2020, the year of the pandemic. We have, I believe, 7 movies, because A Quiet Place Part 2 technically came out in 2020, but it had its theatrical release in 2021, so... but starting off the list, we have Host, and actually we're going to start off with Fantastic, because I absolutely love Host. It was on my top 50 horror movies list that you guys saw, or was it top 25? I don't remember. I did a top horror movie list. Go watch it. Took a lot of time and effort, and this movie appeared on it, because I love found footage movies. Found footage movies is probably my favorite subgenre, between that and slasher. Found footage is definitely my favorite subgenre, and that's one of the best found footage movies in recent years. Invisible Man, actually, good or, yeah, we'll put it in fantastic, actually. So, 2020 didn't have very many horror movies, but it had a lot of great ones. Like The Invisible Man, one of the best horror remakes I've seen in the past 5 years. It is just, like, it has enough of the original classic Universal movie that, like, it can be classified as a remake, but it's so much different, and I think it's so much better. It, like, just goes into some themes that I won't talk about, but, like, it goes into some of that stuff, and I really like The Invisible Man. Then, moving on, we have The Hunt. I actually like The Hunt a lot more than most people did. I'm going to put it in good. Most people just put it in watchable. I think it is definitely watchable, but it's definitely leaning towards the good for me. It's probably a little bit more of an action movie, but I'd still say it falls into the horror kind of camp. Kind of like action horror. John Wick is kind of like also on the border, but I'd say that one's more just strictly action. But The Hunt, I think it's a fun movie. I mean, if I can have fun with a horror movie, I'm probably going to like it a little bit. And The Hunt, I have fun with The Hunt. Freaky, oh my, 2020 had a lot of good ones, apparently, because that one's also going up to fantastic. That is one of my favorite horror comedies ever. A lot of my favorite horror comedies have actually came out of the last few years, and that is one of them. I think it's a perfect take on, like, the Freaky Friday, the body swap movies, where they swap bodies with a serial killer. Like, that's basically it, but I really like it. Unhinged with Russell Crowe. This one's gonna go in bad. Could I watch it? Yes. It could probably go in watchable. Would I ever rewatch it? No. That's why it's going in bad. Like, it's watchable. Like, I watched it the first time, and I didn't have, like, a huge problem with it, but, like, I'll never go rewatch it, so it's just gonna stay there in bad. Oh, the Babysitter Killer Queen. Okay, so I love the first Babysitter movie, but God, the second one was atrocious. Definitely dreadful. Wow, I hated this movie. Jenna Ortega is in this, one of her first horror movies. She probably should have picked a better one, because this one is terrible. But they take one of the characters that you love from the last movie and make her the main villain, and then you take the villain from the last movie and make you kind of like her by the end. And this movie takes some interesting paths. It brings back the killers from the last movie that died. I don't know. I really could not tell you what they were thinking. And the last movie from 2022, Quiet Place Part 2, watchable. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just a sequel to... Quiet Place is great. It's just a sequel to that. But, like, it doesn't have any of the same magic, so... It's just kind of unneeded sequel. So, I forgot I had to go do something today, so I went to that for a little bit, and we're back, and it's actually midnight now, but we're going to continue filming this video. And I actually forgot to mention, this is just my opinion, so... I'm not ranking these, like, objectively. This is just basically how much I like them. So, without further ado, let's continue. We got 2021 up next. Starting off with M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Now, I haven't seen Knock at the Cabin yet, so this is the most recent M. Night Shyamalan movie for me. And honestly, a lot of people hated it, but I'm actually going to put it up in good. You know, it's up there, like, top 5 for my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie. I mean, I think The Sixth Sense is definitely my favorite. But honestly, it's up there with, like... The heck is... What the... What is happening? Why are there ads on my webs? Okay. As I was saying, I think it's up there with Signs for maybe even top 3. So... I really liked Old. I liked the concept of it, and honestly, like, just the way the characters interacted on the island. It was actually, like, they try to do a lot in a little time frame, and I think most of it actually works out, because, like, they want to explore everything, because, you know, obviously there's not going to be any sequels. Because, like, obviously there isn't going to be any sequels, so they want to explore everything they can, and I think they do a pretty good job at it. Oh, next up, we have Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. Now... it is watchable. It's a watchable movie. But this is probably the movie on here that offends me the most. I'm going to stick it in bad because, as I said, it is watchable. But I will never rewatch this movie. Paranormal Activity is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. Paranormal Activity is my second favorite horror movie ever. And this movie disrespects everything. Like, it has a perfect, fluent storyline going from 1 to 6. Like, it works. That's one of my favorite parts, is that it's just an unbroken story. Paranormal Activity Next of Kin just throws all that away, doesn't even bring back a single character, or a single name, or a single anything. There's literally shots in this that aren't even found footage. It's a really big change of setting. Like, it's a fine found footage movie, but it's not a Paranormal Activity movie. And moving on after that, we have The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, also gonna go in bad. This one honestly borders dreadful for me. I hated this movie. And you guys know, I love the first 2 Conjuring movies. Like, those are 2 of my favorite horror movies ever. Conjuring 3 really did not work, partially because obviously James Wan did not direct it. They got the guy who did The Curse of La Llorona to direct this one, which is one of the worst in the entire Conjuring universe because it's so boring. And that's exactly what he does to this movie. Just makes it boring and basic, and yeah, there's nothing. Like, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, their characters are good, but otherwise, like, there's nothing. It's just a basic demon possession movie, but with more horrible CGI. So, you're not getting too high for me for that. Then after that, we have The Forever Purge. The Forever Purge is watchable, as all Purge movies are, but I'm actually also going to put The Forever Purge in bad. simply because it does the exact same things as the other movies. Like, at this point, it's the 5th movie. We want something new. So obviously they're like, okay, we're going to throw in the Forever Purge. People don't want to stop purging. They're just going to keep purging after the time is up. And it's the Forever Purge for about... I mean, actually, I don't remember how this movie ends. I think it might have ended with, like, the Purge ending up being forever. But, like, it's just the exact same thing with different characters. So, like, it really doesn't do anything for me. Ooh, next up we have Candyman. Now, I was not a fan of this movie when I first watched it, but it's actually grown on me a little bit. I'm going to stick it in watchable. But the Candyman remake, for me, really disappointed me. I absolutely adore the original Candyman. It's one of my favorite slashers, one of my favorite horror movies from the 90s. And this remake did not do it justice. It takes a completely different route. It has, like, multiple different Candymans. So, like, I get what they were trying to do, but that, you know, just add more of a message, more of a theme. I didn't love everything they did. I like the new characters, and Yahya Abdul-Mateen, he does a pretty great job as the lead role. But, like, otherwise, a lot of this movie I just didn't like. Like, the art kind of concept was good. And actually, there's a scene that kind of bugged me. That scene in, like, the art museum with the couple that gets killed by Candyman. I hated that scene. But otherwise, it's watchable. There's some things I don't like. There's some things I like. And most of it's just mediocre for me. So, stick it in watchable. Oh, next up we have Don't Breathe 2. Dreadful. Do you know what you don't do in a horror movie sequel? So, you know how in the first movie they build up the blind man as this menacing, terrible person. What you don't do is you don't make the villain the hero of the next movie, because he has done some messed up things, and I'm not going to go into details on what he does, just let you know. He keeps a woman chained in his basement. And you can put 2 and 2 together for that. Why would we be rooting for him? Like, yeah, we know he lost his daughter, and, like, he has this replacement daughter, but, like, why would you root for him? Like, you put him in a room full of terrible people, he's still probably the most terrible person in there. Like, don't ever make you root for the killer. That is the worst way to go about a horror sequel, especially a killer as messed up as the blind man and as terrifying as the blind man. Do not make him the hero. And they do it, and I hate this movie. Moving on, we have Malignant. I actually didn't love this movie as much as a lot of people did. I'm going to put it in watchable, but, like, it's definitely bordering good for me. I love the concept. I love the killer, Gabriel. Probably one of my favorite killers on this list. But it's just because it's such an interesting concept, and it's such a... Like, this movie is not, like, super serious, but, like, it's played seriously so that, like, I really enjoyed Malignant. I just wouldn't really ever want to rewatch it. That's really the whole problem, is it kind of is like a one-and-done movie. You've seen it, you know it, you move on. Moving on, oh, these are in the wrong order. We have Fear Street Part 1. Fear Street Part 1 for me is going to go in good. Definitely not my favorite of the trilogy, but I like the dynamic between the leading couple and their friends and the brother. I like all that. I like the dynamic between the characters. I like the concept. It's probably one of my favorite horror trilogies of all time. I just don't like it because the leading character is... I don't want to root for her because she's kind of a jerk the whole movie. But Fear Street Part 2, now, that one's going up to fantastic. I love Fear Street Part 2. I think the further they go back in time, the better the Fear Street movies are. And this is a perfect reincarnation of Sleepaway Camp and Friday the 13th, those camp slasher movies from the 80s. I think Sadie Sink puts in a great performance. I don't remember her sister's actress's name, but she also puts in a great performance in this. And it's kind of a good origin story of all the characters that you meet throughout the next movie and the movie prior, where you just kind of learn about the history. And, I mean, I think it probably has the best killer in it as the Nightwing killer. He's probably the best. And, like, you get to see how he, like, transforms into the Nightwing killer, where it's just, like, mindless because he got mind controlled by the witch. Yeah, I really love this movie. Moving on, we have Fear Street Part 3. I'm also going to stick this one in good, but let me just tell you, I think that the 1666 part is the best part of the trilogy. Like, it hands down. Like, that's half the movie. Half the movie is the 1666 part, and then the other half is 1996 part 2. The 1666 stuff, hands down, best part of the entire trilogy. The origin story of Sarah Fear is just perfect. I love it so much. But the other half of the movie is what I have a problem with. It doesn't work. I don't... Like, it works well enough. Like, Sam is mind-controlled. Like, I think it works well enough to tell the story, but I really had a lot of problems with it. I did not like it that much. Especially, like, the characters of Ziggy Berman and the spray paint guy. I didn't care for them very much in this movie. I like Ziggy Berman in part 2, obviously, but I didn't care for them in this movie at all. I think that they were terrible replacements for the kids that we had in the previous one, because, like, it was all the kids taking down the killers, and now it's just 2 random adults and the kids. Like, if they would have made Ziggy Berman a little bit more likable as an adult, sure. And I think she does deserve to be the one to take down Nick Good. But I don't know why they needed that, like, spray paint guy in there. Like, comic relief, I guess, but... sticking with 2021, Spiral from the Book of Saw. This one I'm going to stick in watchable. Nowhere near my favorite Saw movie. I mean, there's even another Saw movie on the list that I like a little bit better. But it's not a bad Saw movie. I mean, it's unwatchable. I would rewatch it if I was binge watching the franchise. It's not one that's, like, so bad I'll skip. But it doesn't do anything. I mean, it's just kind of another Saw movie in a different location, like, centered around cops. It actually goes back and it does some pretty good traps that are, like, actually beatable. Because, like, from, like, Saw 4 onward, like, it was kind of like a bunch of unbeatable traps and you're just watching people get mutilated, which is not really what I like. I like seeing how, like, people have the willpower to power through the trap and do it. And a lot of the people in this movie actually do. But some of them don't, and you see them die. But my one big knock against the movie is that the killer reveal is extremely obvious. Moving on, we have Halloween Kills, and I'm actually going to stick Halloween Kills. Like, it's bordering watchable and good, but I'm actually going to give it the little nudge up and put it in good. I really liked Halloween Kills. It's one of my favorite Halloween movies. Definitely top 5. It's because I like the continuation of the Halloween 2018 story. Like, all the characters getting to return, even the minor characters, like, Allison's boyfriend gets to return, even though everybody dies in this movie, except for Laurie and Allison. Like, everybody dies, even the characters from the original movie. Sheriff Brackett, the kids that she's babysitting, they all die. All of them. So, that's my one complaint against the movie, is that the mob is unrealistic and because all the characters just get killed. So, and moving on, the last movie of 2021 is The Black Phone. Even though it hit theaters in 2022, it had its release in 2021, so it's in here. And this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, going straight up to fantastic. I absolutely love Ethan Hawke. He's one of my favorite actors, and we do share a name, so that's very cool. But otherwise, he puts in a great performance in this movie, and so do all of the kids. I think the kids are probably the standout of this movie. It deals with some good themes. I was really impressed by how much I love The Black Phone. And it actually has some, like, scary moments in it. It's a pretty good movie. I'd say, like, honestly, top 20 for me, horror movies of all time. And moving on to 2022, possibly the greatest year for horror movies ever. So we got a bunch to go through. Oh, almost threw up. Let's get right into it. Starting with Nope, possibly the biggest one. Released by Jordan Peele's third movie. Not my favorite movie. I'll go it's between good and watchable. I'll stick it in watchable for me. Probably my least favorite Jordan Peele movie, but I still really enjoyed it. There were some actually terrifying moments in here. I think Us is definitely the scariest of Jordan Peele's movies, but that Jordy, the freaking ape, whatever his scene, actually was pretty terrifying and disturbing. And I like the themes that like they puts behind it, where like you can kind of understand some of them, but like there's a little bit missing, so you don't fully understand. I have to vacuum right now, but like he does a pretty good job at making you understand, and I really dug Nope. I thought it was a spectacle. And we have X. X I'm gonna put in good. Nowhere near my favorite of that year or my favorite of the list, but I really dug what X did. It went back and made a movie that felt like it took place in the 70s. Like they does a pretty good job of recreating it, with some pretty good characters. Like they're not bad people. You don't want to see them die. Like they're actually pretty good people. Like when the old people, they just seem like they need help, so they go out and help them, and then they get taken advantage of and killed. Like, you know, you don't want to see the characters die. But moving on, we have Orphan First Kill. If you guys know me, you guys know I am the biggest fan of the original Orphan, and Orphan First Kill is going to go straight into good. I really enjoyed Orphan First Kill. Nowhere near as good as the first one. Obviously, I would have put the first one in fantastic, and this one's in good. But I really liked what it did. They still do a pretty decent job at making Isabella Furman look like a little girl, even though she's a little bit older. She's like 20s now, so she's like a 20-year-old playing a 40-year-old playing a little girl. Because Esther Coleman, she's not a little girl. She's like a full-grown woman with like a gland disorder or something that makes her look like a child. And it's great. If you haven't seen Orphan, go check it out. It is the most insane movie ever. And the prequel, not as good, but still off the walls. Moving on, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this is the definition of watchable. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever rewatch it, but like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it, so it's just right in the middle. Like, to our next movie, we have Smile, possibly the most shocking movie on this list. It's going straight up to good, because this movie was way better than I expected it to, and it's actually pretty terrifying. Like, some of the scenes in this movie, they're pretty good, they're pretty scary. The only part that it kind of loses me is the ending. That's really it, because it just kind of ends abruptly and confusingly and without explanation. So if that ending would have been touched up a little bit, maybe explained a little bit, probably be fantastic. And moving on, the most recent movie that Dead Meat has given a kill count to, Barbarian. Barbarian, it's between good and watchable, I'm gonna be honest. I'll stick it in watchable. Now, I know a lot of people loved Barbarian. I didn't love it as much as a lot of people did. I think it's good. I like the themes that it delves into. I like Bill Skarsgård's performance, and the leading girl's performance. I forgot her name. And even Justin Long's performance. Like, he does a good performance at being a jerk. So, like, he is one of the worst people to have in a horror movie, and he gets killed, so it's a little bit satisfying at the end. But again, it just kind of it doesn't have a great ending either. Just kind of a little sudden, and abrupt. And we got Werewolf by Night going right into watchable as well. The MCU's first take at a horror movie. I would have liked if it would have been Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because that would have made it a lot better for me. Even though Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is my favorite movie of all time, if it was horror, it would... I don't know what I'd do. That would be perfect. But this is our first crack at horror, and it's okay. I like Man-Thing. I like the new character of the werewolf, and Elsa, I think that's the other girl's name, or the girl's name. I like it. It's just a little short film for Halloween on Disney Plus, but I kind of dug it, but like it again, it's kind of meh. And next we have Halloween Ends. This one's gonna go into watchable. Bordering good. I'm actually a defender of Halloween Ends. When I walked out of the theater, I was not a defender of Halloween Ends. I was just as mad as the rest of you. I was furious that this is the thing that they chose to make the final chapter of a trilogy. Make it a completely separate story, not even connecting to the other two movies, besides two characters, and Corey wasn't even introduced before this movie, so we would have no idea to know that it would be him. Otherwise, the two characters, Lori and, I forgot her name, Allison, they're still good characters. I like Corey for the most part. Like, the opening scene is pretty good. And I like what they did. I like that they made this movie, but maybe not Halloween. Like, I get it, but you come to a Halloween movie for Michael Myers. If you're going to make a movie this deep, don't make it a Halloween movie, and let alone don't make it the third chapter in a trilogy of other slasher movies. Like, because this is way more than a slasher movie, and I really like what they did, but they do that story and then just kind of wrap it up, just kill Corey, alright, cool, move on. Here's your 10 minutes of Michael v. Laurie, and it's a weak fight, like one of the most anticlimactic moments in film history. She pins him under a fridge, and they crush his body in a meat grinder. Or just a grinder. Like, that's how it ends. He doesn't even appear in the movie at all before this. I mean, he does, but for like 5 minutes. And Corey beats him up. So, like, there's so many things that you did wrong to try to make this movie, but I like what they were going for. Then moving on, we have Scream, or what it should have been called, Scream 5, but the S is actually a 5, but, okay, we got Scream. I'm gonna put this one in good. One of my favorite Scream movies, actually, I think it might have overtaken Scream 6 as my second favorite, I'm gonna be honest. It was my second favorite when I did my original Scream ranking, and I think it might be back up there. Like, I really like this movie. I rewatched it, and yeah, it's pretty good. Then next up, we have Bodies, 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 and this one is also gonna go up to fantastic for me. I loved Bodies, Bodies, Bodies more than I even expected to. I really did not expect to like Bodies, 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 but I went in, came out, and I was shocked. I loved it. It actually made me laugh multiple times. Pete Davidson is hilarious. Lee Pace is probably the second funniest of the movie. Alice is definitely the funniest. She had so many moments that had me dying. And it just kind of shows like the dynamic of people who are upper class, who are rich. And just, it's kind of like, I'd say, a modern day Scream. Like, it perfectly captures the era that the movie was made in. And I think, give it 10 years, people in this generation will see this movie like people from the 90s saw Scream. Next up, Prey. This one's going to follow Bodies, Bodies, Bodies straight in to fantastic. This is the best Predator movie since the original. I like Predator 2 a little bit. I like Predators a little bit. I like the Predator a little bit. But I loved Prey. I love the new character that they introduced. The feral Predator is perfect because, like, it's way back in the time. They didn't have the updated machinery. So they kind of bring it down a little bit because, like, obviously the people back then, they didn't have machine guns and bombs to go after the Predator. And he's just got, like, a fan blade and, like, some honing arrows. Like, he's pretty low tech. I mean, I guess he can still turn invisible. But, like, as far as Predators go, pretty low tech to kind of adjust that the people were also pretty low tech back then. And remember, they want to hunt. So they want to fight people that have a fair chance of beating them. So they kind of tone it down a little bit. And I really like that aspect of it. I love how beautiful this movie is. There's like a bunch of sweeping shots of the forest and of water, of animals. A lot of the animals are CG, but it's fine. I love all the scenes where the predator just gets to... I love all the scenes where the predator just gets to go off and kill a bunch of people. Like, I mean, it makes me sound insane, but like, it's cool. One of my favorite kills is when he puts the fan up and opens it and cuts the guy's head in half and cuts the tree down at the same time. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie. As well as the invisible fight, where he's invisible and you just see, like, just random blood splatters going up because he's stabbing people. And moving on to the most talked about movie of 2022, Terrifier 2. And I'm about to start a riot because it's going watchable. Not good, not fantastic, watchable. I'm not a fan of the Terrifier movies. They're just not my thing. I can get it if people like them. I'm not saying you can't. I get it. A lot of people like this movie. It was really low budget. I'm just not a huge fan of the Terrifier movies. Like, just torture for like, with no upside. There's nothing to these movies besides just dread and torture. And that is not, like, a movie that I want to watch. I watched some messed up movies with, like Saw. But there's, like, some upsides to that. There's, like, the cop subplot. There's humor in some of them. Like, there's nothing in these movies. It's just Art the Clown just killing people in the most horrific ways possible. And, like, that's just not my thing. I mean, it's watchable. I don't think I'd ever watch it, though. Because, like, after that girl in the room that had, like, the salt and bleach poured on her, like, why? Now we are on to 2023, and I have seen 6 of the horror movies from this year. That is very weak. I know. But starting off with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And I'm actually going to put this one in bad. Now, watchably bad, but bad. And I'm probably more inclined to rewatch Winnie the Pooh than any of the other ones in this category. Because it's stupid. It's a stupid slasher movie. And that's really why. And it's not like it doesn't know it's a stupid slasher movie, but it tries so hard to be a scary, stupid slasher movie, and it doesn't work. It just falls flat on its face. And it's probably the most talked about movie in the last year. Five Nights at Freddy's. This one's gonna go... It's bordering good and watchable again. I'm gonna stick it in watchable. I actually had some big complaints that I overlooked in my out-of-theater reaction for this movie. One of the main complaints is that it doesn't follow the games at all. Like, I would have liked if it did its own thing, but also somewhat followed the games. But instead, they build a pillow fort with the animatronics. We're here to see the animatronics eat people and kill people like in the games, not build forts with them. And, you know, I don't mind the whole thing with Springtrap and Vanessa. Like, that's fine to me. But I just don't think the execution was all there. Then, moving on, we have Saw X. And honestly, nope, it's not going to watchable. I'm going to stick Saw X and fantastic. It made top 3. I forgot. It might have been second place on my Saw ranking. And it's the newcomer. Like, it's the newest Saw movie. But they go back to the basics. They bring back Jigsaw. We haven't seen that guy since part 4. Well, I guess we haven't seen him alive since part 3, if you don't count the flashbacks. And he's alive. And you actually kind of root for John Kramer. Like, this, if you're going to make someone root for a character, do it how they do it in Saw X, not how they do it in Don't Breathe 2. John Kramer didn't people. And if you don't know what word I said, it's grape. Without the G. He didn't do that, so, like, I can root for him. Like, he still killed people, sure. But he got wronged in this situation. So in this specific situation, I do want to see these people die. I want to see them get what's coming to them. But if they are able to complete the traps, they should be able to go free. Moving on to Scream 6. Scream 6 for me. You know what? Actually, I'll also put this one in good. I like Scream 6. When I came out, for actually like a year before this movie came out, it was my second favorite Scream movie. It's since, went back a little bit. Might be third or fourth right now. But I did really like Scream. I like the 3 killers that they had. Like, it was interesting. Like, they've never had 3 killers. They've had 2 or 1. Like, I like that they did 3 killers. And Quinn Bailey is, like, one of the best Ghostface reveals because you would have no clue because you'd think she's dead. You saw her die. Everyone did. But they do actually a pretty good fake out death, even though it doesn't make much sense. Then moving on, we have Renfield. I did not like Renfield. I honestly, watchable, but I think it's more of a one and done, and I wouldn't rewatch it. So for that, I'm going to put it in bad. I didn't mind it. I watched it on the plane home from Hawaii. I did not mind it at all. I would never rewatch it, though. Like, I don't think I would ever rewatch this movie. So that's why it's going to go in bad and not watchable, because it's not rewatchable. So it's going to go down there in bad. Not anything against Nick Cage. His performance as Dracula is actually pretty good, and it's pretty funny. So, not a bad movie. Then our last movie we have on the list is The Nun 2. And I'm going to stick it in bad, simply because I liked it a little bit more than the original Nun. Still boring, still bad, still don't like the Nun movies. And that is going to be it for the video. If you guys want to see more tier lists from me, make sure to hit like so you want to see more videos like it. Make sure to hit subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post any new video. But until then, if you're a horror fan, you can go click on my channel, go find another video in there. I'm sure there'll be another one in there that you'll enjoy. And please comment down below some more video ideas and more tier lists that I could do, because I'm running out of ideas for videos and I need new ones, and I want to have some interesting ideas that you guys want to see. But until then, see you guys next time. So I did a big oopsie on the video. So for 2023, you might have realized that Megan was not on the tier list. I messed up and I didn't include it. So Megan would have been in Fantastic. Just figured, like, I have seen it. Some people would probably be wondering where Megan is. I have seen it. It's in Fantastic. I just, for some reason, forgot to put it on the tier list. But it happens.